Can a $1 therapy session be just as effective as a 100,000 one? Well, let's see if a £5 one can be as good as one that costs £180. Yes, I put two therapy sessions to the test, and I have good reason to. The idea of comparing a low cost therapy session with a highly expensive one might seem ridiculous, especially to those who have struggled to access mental health support. But that's exactly what we're doing today. By exploring the extremes of the therapy spectrum, we're hoping to uncover some surprising insights into the value and efficacy of these sessions. When it comes to mental health care, one of the biggest obstacles people face is the stigma surrounding expensive therapy. We often hear that therapy is only for the wealthy or that you need to be severely struggling to justify the cost. But the truth is, mental health support should be accessible to everyone, regardless of their financial situation. Unfortunately, many people are priced out of the very help they need, leaving them to suffer in silence. This lack of accessibility is especially problematic when you consider that mental health issues can affect anyone, regardless of income or social status. But thankfully, here in the UK at least, we have free options as well as very low cost ones. Even so, due to the overstretched services and huge waiting lists for many, the cost of therapy is a major barrier to seeking help. It's a luxury that only a select few can afford, leaving the rest to struggle through their issues on their own. So, the reason I suggest a comparison is because if those who can afford therapy were to access the higher cost options, there might be more lower cost therapies available for those who need it, right? So, I'm hoping by reviewing both options for you, if you're someone who can pay more, you will. And guess what? It costs you absolutely nothing to subscribe and keep benefiting from our videos. So please feel free to. So let's get to it. What actually happens in these two types of therapy sessions? In the £5 session, I noticed a more informal setting. The building seemed like it could do with a fresh lick of paint, and it wasn't too therapeutic in terms of the setting. It actually gave me a bit of a cold vibe, to be honest, but the room itself was quite nice. The furniture was a bit basic, but I could see that they had tried to make it feel warmer. The therapist was in training. She was friendly and seemed warm in her approach. But to be honest, I did find her techniques a little bit generic. I would say she focused more on providing a safe space for me so I could express myself, and this is a crucial aspect of therapy. On the other hand, the £180 session therapist was highly trained and experienced. She had some specialisms, and the environment itself was lovely. We were in a grade 2 listed building, high ceilings, neutral decor, nice lighting. The building was warmer in terms of temperature and the decor, and her techniques might be described as more cutting edge. In the cheaper session, I don't think I got the same level of personalized attention, and the therapist didn't seem to have the same level of expertise. But I can say I can imagine that as a client, this setting wasn't as intimidating. It was more relaxed in that sense, which I think can help clients feel a bit more comfortable and able to open up more. In the more expensive session, I think I was able to access more advanced techniques and a more tailored approach, but I can see that for some people, the high cost could be a major distraction. Nonetheless, I think it's about making a mental commitment, setting a monthly budget for your therapy and feeling good about it rather than resentful towards it in some way. This is how you'll get the most out of this option. Also, the cheaper session surprised me in that I did kind of feel like my therapist was a little bit intimidated or nervous around me, but still, she soon warmed up and was able to put me at ease. Of course, it wasn't as sophisticated as the more expensive one, but it was a great starting point. On the other hand, the £180 therapist was incredibly skilled and seemed very sure of herself in a good way, such that I felt held and like I was in good hands. It was a level of attention and care that was quite special. Now, despite the differences in cost and approach, both sessions gave me something. The cheaper session was good in that I had a place I could go and talk and offload a bit. So, if this is what you feel you need, it could be fine for you. Meanwhile, the expensive session was more focused on my issues, and I left feeling I had a change in my thinking, not just feeling. So, what might we take away from this experiment? Firstly, it's clear that therapy can be effective regardless of the cost. What matters most is finding a therapist who's a good fit for you and your needs. Secondly, we should also realize that there may be okay, good, and great therapists across all price brackets. It's just more likely that you'll get what you pay for, so to speak. So, if you can afford to pay for private therapy and you can pay more, I'd recommend considering it because what you can get out of it could be well worth it. This means that the free and lower cost services aren't overly burdened. This also means the therapists who work in those settings can work in a way that will be more beneficial to their clients because they're not feeling burnt out, as many seem to. The point is, therapy needs to be accessible to everyone, regardless of their financial situation. So it's about an attitude to therapy. Just so you know, I'm not saying that one therapy is better than the other. I'm just sharing what I experienced. Also, I'm discussing the reality that some people simply cannot afford therapy, and so we must ensure that services are available for them. One way to do this is, if you can afford to pay more, it may be important to think about this in a bigger picture kind of way and free up services for those who really need to access them. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the world of therapy. If you've had experiences with therapy, good or bad, I'd love to hear about them in the comments below if you feel okay about sharing. And if you want to learn more about mental health resources, be sure to check out our next video.